Let's go back to the book of John, chapter 14. So we're looking at the passage from verses 18 to 26, and we focused yesterday on 19 and 20. So when we read this passage, it's just continuously another place in the Bible and reminder to us that Jesus is the one way to salvation. And it's made clear here again because we realize that Jesus is in the Father, and our one way to the Father is through Jesus. And every day when that relationship grows and it thrives, not only do we see more of the Father, but we realize that Jesus is also inside of us. And in the present stage of salvation, it's important for us to remember that Jesus is inside of us as we dive into verse 21, which is what we're going to study today. I'm going to start from verse 20 and I'm going to read 21, continuing with that. It says, "On that day you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. Whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. The one who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love them and show myself to them." Jesus says that you are in me and I am in you. And he says, if you have my commands, which we do, we have the Bible, we are studying the Bible, everything that we need is in the Bible. All that God had wanted us to know and to speak to us is hidden and written in the Bible. It is our job to go and seek it out and to grab the secrets that the Lord has placed in his word. But it's not just about having it. It says, whoever has my commands and keeps them is the one who loves me. And he is in us and we are in him. Jesus reveals himself to the obedient believer, because it's not just enough to have the commands, it's also to keep the commands, and that's every single one of them. Obedience is a major factor, and it is not optional in the life of a believer. Because if he is within us and we are within him, we abide in him and we grow nearer to him and we follow his path. Where we were once following the world and following the cues that were given to us by the world, it's now we follow the cues of God, and the cues of God come from his word. Obedience is everything. Even if it's not perfect obedience, the obedience that we carry through, the obedience that we walk with, it has to be real and it has to be honest. That is something that is very, very crucial in your walk with God. If you would come to just the page over, John chapter 15, verse 10, it says, "If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love." Jesus is speaking here, and he's saying he understands exactly what it feels like to be obedient to the Father. He knows the hardships that you may face, and he knows that sometimes it's not easy to be perfect in obedience. But the wonderful thing with Jesus is that he was perfect in his obedience. So wherever we struggle, know that you have someone who is interceding for you right now, who knows exactly what that struggle feels like. And we look to Jesus because he is the perfect example of obedience in every sense of the word. He was perfectly obedient to the Father, and he remained in the Father's love. And for us to remain in the Father's love, obedience is very integral, and it plays a major role. So today I just want to leave with you one main message, and that is your obedience doesn't have to be perfect and sometimes will falter, but your obedience has to be honest and real. You have to be critical with yourself and say, I made a mistake, I learned from my mistake, and I'm moving on. To fall into a repeated pattern and to fall into repeated habits becomes toxic towards yourself. And it's something that the Father does not wish for us. But he came and he gave Jesus so that we would be delivered and we would be free. Those are words that are just under salvation, and they belong to salvation, deliverance, and freedom. So obeying Jesus, obeying what the Bible says, obeying what the Father says, sometimes you're going to have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you're going to have to let things that you really love go. But when you do that and you are perfect in your obedience and you're honest in your obedience, you will see that the glory of the Lord shines upon you in a way that you've never expected and never saw, just as Jesus did.